Emma was the kind of nurse everyone loved. She had been working at St. Mary's Hospital for nearly 15 years, and her warm smile could light up even the darkest days for her patients. She had a soft spot for children, and everyone could tell how much she cared for them. Emma often worked late into the evening, especially in the pediatric ward, because she believed every child deserved a fighting chance. But one evening, an unusual event would change her life forever. It was a cold winter evening. Snow was falling outside, covering the town in a soft white blanket. The hospital was quieter than usual. Emma was just finishing her rounds when she heard the automatic doors at the hospital entrance slide open. She glanced up from her clipboard and froze. A large grizzly bear stood in the doorway. At first, Emma thought her tired eyes were playing tricks on her. A bear in a hospital? She blinked, but the sight didn't change. The bear wasn't just standing there. It was holding something gently in its massive paws, something small, wrapped in a faded blue blanket. The security guard, Paul, instinctively reached for his radio, but Emma held up her hand. "Wait," she said softly. Her instincts told her there was something unusual, something more than danger in this scene. The bear didn't growl or act aggressively. Instead, it seemed desperate. The bear took a cautious step inside, its heavy paws making soft thuds on the tiled floor. The small bundle it carried moved slightly, and Emma realized it was a baby. Her heart skipped a beat. "Oh my God," she whispered. The hospital staff stood frozen, unsure of what to do. Paul hesitated but stayed back, waiting for Emma's cue. Emma, her heart pounding, took a step forward. "It's okay," she said gently, unsure if the bear could even understand her. She kept her voice calm, soothing, like she would with a frightened child. "We're here to help." The bear stopped and lowered its head, placing the baby on the floor gently, almost like it understood her words. Emma could see now that the bear's fur was matted and muddy, as if it had traveled a long distance. The baby, a tiny boy with pale skin and closed eyes, looked frail. Emma knelt slowly, her eyes fixed on the bear, and scooped up the baby. The blanket was thin and dirty, and the child's tiny hands were icy cold. She turned to her colleague, Dr. Harris, who had just arrived at the scene. "We need to get him into the NICU now," Emma said firmly. Dr. Harris nodded, and the team sprang into action. But as they rushed to care for the baby, Emma couldn't help but glance back at the bear. It hadn't moved. It sat there, in the middle of the lobby, watching them. Its dark eyes seemed to hold a mixture of sadness and relief. The baby was placed in an incubator, and the medical team worked tirelessly. Emma stayed by his side, monitoring his vitals and ensuring he was warm. As she worked, questions filled her mind. Where had the baby come from? Why had a bear brought him here? And more importantly, how had the baby survived? After hours of stabilizing the child, Emma finally stepped out of the NICU. The bear was still there, sitting quietly in the same spot. It hadn't caused any trouble, no more it hadn't tried to leave or lash out. Emma felt an odd connection to the creature. She approached cautiously, her hands trembling slightly. "You saved him, didn't you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The bear tilted its head, as if it understood. Over the next few days, the hospital staff learned bits and pieces of the story. Local news picked up the tale, and soon a team of wildlife experts arrived. They tranquilized the bear to transport it safely, but before they did, they found a collar around its neck. The tag revealed a name: Charlie. Emma couldn't stop thinking about the bear, the baby, and the mysterious bond between them. It wasn't until a week later that the full story came to light. A man named Robert showed up at the hospital, looking for his lost son. He explained through tears that he and his wife had been hiking in the mountains when an avalanche had struck. His wife had been trapped, and in her final moments, she had placed their newborn in a blanket and left him by a tree, hoping someone or something would find him. Unbeknownst to Robert, Charlie the bear had been nearby. It had watched over the baby, keeping him safe in its den for 3 days before somehow finding its way to the hospital. When Emma told Robert the story, he broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. He hugged Emma tightly and thanked her, but she shook her head. "Don't thank me," she said. "Thank Charlie." As the baby recovered, Emma visited him every day. She couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at how nature and humanity had intertwined to save a life. The bear Charlie was released into a protected wildlife sanctuary, but Emma knew she would never forget him. Years later, on the baby's 5th birthday, Emma received a letter. It was from Robert, with a photo of the little boy, healthy, happy, and holding a stuffed bear. "We named him Charlie," the letter read. Emma smiled, her heart full. Some stories, she thought, were too incredible to be anything but a miracle. That's the story, friends. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure sharing it with you all. Don't forget to comment below and let me know where you're watching from. It's always fun to see the global reach of these stories. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories, tips, and tricks. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.